After evading the Trade Federation's blockade, the Nubian royal starship headed for Coruscant with Queen Amidala is forced to find hyperdrive parts on the planet of Tatooine. Landing in the outskirts of the settlement of Mos Espa, Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn is accompanied by R2-D2, Jar Jar Binks, and the posing handmaiden Queen Amidala. Trudging through the sands to Mos Espa spaceport, Qui-Gon decides to try one of the smaller dealers, not wishing to be found, and to protect the Queen, after sensing a disturbance in the Force. Watching a young boy named Anakin Skywalker rush into the shop, Qui-Gon and R2-D2 are guided to the junkyard featuring the parts to larger vehicles by Watto, the greedy Toydarian dealer. Remarking that he was the only dealer with the parts to the J327 Nubian royal starship's T-14 hyperdrive, he asked the Jedi Master how he was going to pay for the parts. Qui-Gon made an offer for 20,000 Republic Dataries, but the Toydarian would not accept a currency at risk of change. Despite several attempted mind tricks, Watto was resistant, forcing Qui-Gon to rethink, and use the upcoming pod race to gain the parts required. But what if Watto had accepted the Republic credits? What would become of Anakin? What effect would it have on Padme? As you are about to discover, Watto is going to change everything. Striding underneath the archway to Watto's junkyard, Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn was skeptical of being able to pay for new parts to the hyperdrive. He knew Toydarians had strong minds and would not fall for a simple Jedi mind trick. He hoped the Republic Dataries would suffice. Discussing the availability of the hyperdrive parts, Watto asks the inevitable question of Qui-Gon's payment. Qui-Gon confidently offered 20,000 Republic credits, and to his surprise, Watto accepted the offer. Exchanging the parts with his credits, Qui-Gon headed back to the ship with Padme and R2-D2, the disturbance in the Force still apparent. Before a sandstorm could engulf them, Obi-Wan and R2-D2 repaired the hyperdrive, and they flew back to Coruscant. After ensuring the safety of Queen Amidala, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan reported the disturbance in the Force. The Jedi Council are not so sure, but nonetheless, they contact the Station Jedi Knight Quinlan Vos. Vos had sensed it too, but the entity had departed from the planet a short time ago. The Jedi Council began to grow wary. Was it possible that the Sith were returning, or more likely, that a Force sensitive had been taken away from them? They decide to wait, as the current priority pertains to the events on Naboo. With the lack of activity in the Senate, Queen Amidala goes to her home planet of Naboo to locate and form an alliance with the Gungans. This leaves Darth Sidious, who is disguised as Senator Palpatine, free to order Newt Gunray to kill the Queen upon her arrival to Naboo. Following the order, he heads to his suite with the aim of contacting his apprentice Darth Maul. Switching on his holoprojector, the figure of the hooded Zabrak was missing. Sidious was confused. It should have been a simple mission to track down the starship of Queen Amidala. He needed to reconsider his plan concerning his master Darth Plagueis. Moving to Coruscant's Monument Plaza and Plagueis' apartment in the Caldorni Spires building, Sidious met his master to discuss what to do with the missing Maul. Plagueis reveals his suspicions to his apprentice, having recently had visions of a convergence in the Force. He orders his apprentice to eliminate Maul. Sidious heads to the last area where he had made contact with Maul, which was in the Outer Rim, but Maul was nowhere to be found. Sidious was displeased at having to leave empty-handed, but on returning to Coruscant, he had another one of his secret conversations with Jedi Master Dooku. Dooku had expressed his displeasure at the Jedi Council foolishly delving into political matters, wishing to leave the Order. Talking to Plagueis again, Plagueis stated that it was never more necessary to eliminate Qui-Gon, who was proving to be an unwelcome obstacle to their grand plan. Informing Gunray to prepare for an attack, Sidious made his way to his home planet, his personal goal in fact to evaluate Dooku. Preparing to battle the Trade Federation forces, when Qui-Gon senses something gravely wrong. This was far more severe than what he had felt on Tatooine, but not something the Jedi Council would understand. Talking to his master Dooku, he had agreed, and ignoring the Council, makes his way to Naboo. Landing in the foothills of Theed to not attract unwanted attention, Dooku soon joined Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in their protection of the Queen. Entering the grounds of the Theed Royal Palace, the Jedi part ways with the Naboo security force, the disturbance in the Force growing closer. Entering a wide corridor, the ominous presence stood in front of them, fully hooded, and wordlessly ignited its blades. The dark side user's cackle echoed through the walls of the palace, and little did the Jedi know, they were facing somebody who had been under their noses in Palpatine. The young Obi-Wan is soon outmatched, as he is sent into a stationary M1 starfighter by a force push. Obi-Wan gets up, shrugging off the pain of the impact in his right shoulder, launching himself back into the battle. Using his speed, Obi-Wan makes it very quickly to the battle, where he sees that his master was outmatched as well. Yet it seemed, the Sith was taking it lightly on the Jedi Master, requiring Dooku to defend a lot more. Once again, Obi-Wan is thoroughly out of place, being pushed back even further than before, almost falling off the entire complex. Obi-Wan staggers to his feet, But from afar, he can hear Qui-Gon telling him to stay away. Obi-Wan complies and jumps into one of the idle ships to join the battle against the Trade Federation. Back in the palace, Qui-Gon was trusting his master to bear the brunt of the ferocious attacks, as he looked for an alternative solution. Noticing that there was a vast chasm up ahead, Qui-Gon ducked another flurry of attacks before rolling away. Climbing to an upper balcony, Qui-Gon darted across and made it to the other side, now enclosing Sidious. The Sith knew he could defeat the two combatants, but contrary to his master, he had other uses for Qui-Gon. In a flash, he disappeared into the chasm, leaving nothing but a trail of evil. Dooku walked around the thin ledge to help his exhausted Padawan to his feet, both still oblivious to the real identity of the Sith Lord. Dooku was just as confused as Qui-Gon. The Sith Lord could have killed them easily. Making their way to the throne room, they received news that Obi-Wan had managed to destroy the droid control ship, snatching victory from the grasp of the Trade Federation. Arriving back on Coruscant, Obi-Wan is knighted for his efforts, but the Council's biggest concern is the mysterious Sith Lord battled by Dooku and Qui-Gon. Recounting their duel, the Jedi Council astonished to hear that such a being had been hiding in the shadows. Dooku and Qui-Gon disappointed by the Jedi Council failing to heed their prior warnings, as well as their predictable choices, and choose to leave the Jedi Order, leaving Obi-Wan. Without Qui-Gon or a Padawan to train, the now shaken belief in the Jedi Order causes the Jedi Knight to lose his way, making him an easy target for the Sith. Before the Jedi Council could arrest the situation, Obi-Wan left the Order and fell under control of the Sith. With his careful and calculated tendencies, Obi-Wan drew the attention of Plagueis and away from Sidious, continuing his research on midichlorians. Upon discovering Plagueis and Obi-Wan's work, Sidious's displeasure returns to its greatest height. Not only was Obi-Wan supposed to be his apprentice, but he himself was to complete the Sith grand plan. One night, after a Senate debate, Sidious decided that his use for his master had long expired. Arriving at Plagueis' apartment, Plagueis was staring out into the Coruscant nightscape when Sidious hit him with the full force of a Force-signing attack. Writhing in pain, Plagueis managed to gain enough composure to ignite his lightsaber and take the battle to the outdoors. Knowing that Sidious possessed immense skill in lightsaber combat, Plagueis had to use his knowledge in the Force. Conjuring up several Force illusions, Plagueis gives himself enough time to escape to the underworld, where Obi-Wan had been on a mission. Obi-Wan is not surprised by Sidious's attack. After all, there could only be two. The two intelligent minds waited patiently on one of the deserted upper levels, before the billowing cape of Sidious floated down nearby. Using the narrow streets to their advantage, Plagueis summons a Force illusion of a building, blocking Sidious's path and allowing Obi-Wan to jump in for a surprise attack. Sidious scoffed at Obi-Wan's attacks and the cowardice of his master for not facing him alone, but he was met by a lightsaber through his back. He had underestimated his master and had paid the ultimate price. Soon it was obvious that their fighting had drew attention from the other levels of the underworld. Alarms began to go off, and sirens resonated above. Quickly dashing away, they left the underworld police to solve the demise of the recently elected Chancellor Palpatine. The wound in the back clearly pointed to a lightsaber, and the underworld police were quick to summon the help of the Jedi Order. Mace Windu and Yoda both examined the scene, looking at how the wound had been inflicted, as well as the lightsaber hilts left behind. They were supremely crafted pieces of equipment, and it pointed to a very powerful Force-using lightsaber duelist. Retrieving Quinlan Vos from Tatooine, he uses his psychometry to determine that Palpatine had wielded these blades whilst dueling. Could this be the key to unlocking the identity of the Sith Lord? Performing a thorough search of Palpatine's new Senate apartment, the walls are decorated with bizarre artifacts, but there are no signs of any Sith involvement. The Jedi trudge back to the Jedi Temple, devoid of any further clues. But walking through the archives, the Jedi Temple flares into life as the security alarms begin to scream. The Jedi split up, teaming up with Temple guards to find whatever triggered the alarm. They soon deduce that it was in the Holocron Vault. Yoda finds that several are missing, and sees a shadow gliding across close by. Yoda is quick to react, chasing the shadow through the temple. However, he soon discovered there was merely an illusion. Reflecting upon being outmaneuvered again, Yoda immediately pointed to Dooku and Qui-Gon taking the holocrons. Yet they had not left with darkness within them. This seemed more to be the work of the Sith. Holding an emergency council meeting, the Jedi cannot find a solution to their recent failings. Whilst the Jedi had been making predictable moves for political motives, the Sith had evolved into a faction of fear. All these events were not a coincidence, and the Jedi were now one step behind. They hoped their trust in the Force would be enough as a new war begins. That is it for part 1 of What If Watto accepted Republic credits. If you'd like to see a part 2, let's see this video get to 500 likes, and I'll release it as soon as possible. And if you're new to this channel, and my other channel, subscribe for more tips. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.